Trump responds to the redacted unsealing of the Mar-a-Lago affidavit. We've got two bits that we want to take a look at. First, on Truth Social, he posted this. Trump said, "Affidavit heavily redacted." 3 exclamation points. Says nothing mentioned on nuclear, a total public relations subterfuge by the FBI and the DOJ, or our close working relationship regarding document turnover. We gave them much. Judge Bruce Reinhart should never have allowed the break-in of my home. He recused himself 2 months ago from one of my cases based on his animosity and hatred of your favorite president, me. What changed? Why hasn't he recused himself on this case? Says Obama must be very proud of him now. So Trump said that on Truth Social. Let's see if he had anything else to say. He did. He says they missed a page. There it is. Yeah, from the docket, page 39 of 38. He says, "Make America great again." From Donald Trump. Trump also says, "Witch hunt." And he's right on all 3 accounts. Donald Trump responding with a slam dunk, as usual. And we also have a little bit of a clip from him where he was on Rumble or on somebody's show. Let's see what he says here. I think it maybe is the Lou Dobbs show. Donald Trump is on the Lou Dobbs show where he's reacting to the affidavit being unsealed. Here's what he had to say.
I did nothing wrong. And it's the exact same thing here. We were essentially attacked. We were broken into. They opened up safes. They brought safe crackers in. They brought many, many FBI agents in, all right before the midterms. And all when I have the best poll numbers I've ever had. This is a political attack on our country, and it's a disgrace. And the people understand it. The people understand it. And they could have come in and they could have talked to us and they could have taken whatever they needed. But instead they raided it. They took my passports. They took things that they should have never taken with that are privileged. And it's a disgrace to our country. It really is. It's just, and it just never ends. It's the same people, the same leaks, the same, they leak to the same places, the same people doing the leaking. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. Our country's a wreck.
Our country's a wreck. Donald Trump is not incorrect about that. First time that we've ever had a former president have his home raided by FBI officials, and the redacted warrant doesn't give any new details that makes America feel good that this was all done legitimately. We also have a reaction from Trump and his lawyer. Let's pull this one up. Trump's lawyer, Christina Bobb, also reacts to the unredacted or the redacted affidavit being unsealed. Here's what she had to say.
We heard this whole story about, espionage, or, there were nuclear documents. He kept the nuclear codes or some kind of crazy activity like that. And yet we see the affidavit and it's a big wah-wah. There's nothing there. So I think the FBI and the Department of Justice have a lot of explaining to do. And I'm curious on the redacted portions of the affidavit, did they lie to the court? They have a history of lying to the court. We know they have lied to FISA courts in the past. So, what did they tell the judge? Because there doesn't seem to be a good reason to find probable cause and allow for the warrant. So what did they tell the judge that we don't know? And I suspect they were probably either dishonest or withheld information that could have changed the judge's mind.
Exactly right. There's a lot of exculpatory evidence questions that we have about this entire saga, wondering if they made the entire story known to the judge before the judge ultimately signed off on the warrant. Christina Bobb saying that maybe there's a lot more to that story. We also have John Ratcliffe. John Ratcliffe is the former director of national intelligence. John Ratcliffe, who served in the Trump administration, is also coming out and calling this entire affidavit that has been released sort of a big nothing burger. Here's what he said.
A short time ago, the affidavit in the Mar-a-Lago search was partially unsealed in a Florida court. What's your assessment of the document?
Well, as expected, it was heavily redacted in places. I think it provided a general recitation of the fact that the FBI and the Department of Justice believed that there were classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. But I didn't really see anything in the affidavit that justified what still seems like an extreme approach by the FBI and the Department of Justice to retrieve those documents if, in fact, they were classified.
So what you haven't seen, a lot of it's redacted, but what you didn't see here was sort of what was that catalyst or this sense of urgency to take that unprecedented step to search a former president's private residence?
Right. I mean, I think there's nothing in there that is really going to tamp down the tensions that are running so high in this country with the American people about whether or not this was justified. And, I think one of the unfortunate things about the FBI and the Department of Justice approach here, Catherine, is, if you set out to, deepen divisions between, Americans and to increase a level of skepticism or distrust of the FBI and the Department of Justice, then they succeeded in going in, with a raid of the former president based on ambiguous statutes that have been unevenly applied in the past or never interpreted at all before to a former president who was clearly entitled to have classified intelligence as the president. So, I think that, unfortunately, the unsealing of this today isn't going to do much to, again, tamp down the chaos, the confusion, and frankly, the unfortunate things that are happening that have led to a majority of Americans, based on recent polling, to have a distrust of the FBI and the Department of Justice. And when I say that, I mean not Republicans or Democrats, but even independents. Yeah,
it does very little to calm any nerves because Americans are looking at the affidavit and we have very little answers. I mean, it seems as though it really is overdue library books, right? There's some confidential stuff in there. They've got some different speculations. I hear a lot of people hemming and hawing about what it could be, right? It could be top secret security, this, that, and the other. And we can play that game all day. I mean, we can play that game. I could say, well, it could be Crossfire Hurricane documents. It could be documents that show that the FBI is one of the most corrupt institutions we've ever had in this country. It could be all sorts of things. It could be Hunter Biden documents that show that he was, engaged with, who knows what it is. We can play that game all day long if you want to. But Glenn Youngkin is somebody who is his name is kind of in the running as a contender for the GOP in 2024, sort of the moderate wing, if Trump doesn't run. And he's out here saying, everybody, hold your horses. We've got to listen and wait and learn a little bit more until we jump to conclusions. Here's Glenn Youngkin.
Transparency is the key here. And my criticism of Attorney General Garland has been lack of transparency and what really is a clear politicization of the Attorney General's office and whether to investigate parents in Loudoun County or not to, in fact, enforce code and keep our justices safe in Virginia. And so transparency is the key. I know there's a lot more to come here. And so I would just caution folks to not draw too many conclusions from today's release and yet continue to ask for more transparency. That's going to be the key here.
Says there's a lot more to come here. And we ask ourselves what that means. Does that mean an indictment? We've been speculating that, yeah, there really is nowhere to go from here. There's only one direction and there is no off ramp. And the Biden White House has made sure of that.